What is going on, everybody? This is Tempest Wing, and you are now watching or listening to episode 4 of the Herald, which is the premier NALCS podcast. I realize that, I've been calling it the premier NALCS podcast because, as far as I know, it is the only weekly NALCS podcast, but I forgot about the dive, which is done by the Riot Casters, Jat, Kobe, and Azale. And they do a weekly podcast, basically kind of doing the same thing I'm doing. So forgot about them, but let's just put it this way: they didn't think to call theirs the premier NALCS weekly podcast, so that's too bad because I've got the cornering the market on that. So you know what? It's too bad for them. So until further notice, this will be known as the Herald, the premier weekly NALCS podcast until I inevitably miss it a week. But hey, I'm out here doing it weekly until that happens. Got some good games to discuss. Definitely some interesting trends. Some teams sort of getting it together, like CLG and TSM slowly coming into their own. You've got Echo Fox, who's giving me some questions for the first time. Maybe not the first time, but some serious questions for the first time. And you've got middle of the pack teams like Clutch, who I sort of didn't give a shit about, and now definitely don't give a shit about. So, without further ado, let's get into the Week 3 recap. Now, in the past, I've done predictions at the end of every segment, and I haven't really gotten into some good recap, and I haven't really talked about how well I did in my predictions because I know on the analyst desk, Jad and Mark do that thing where they, for whatever reason, they're playing against each other to see who can predict the best, but they're also playing against a coin flip, which I don't really get, but whatever. You can have my own coin flip analysis because a lot of these NALCS games seem like they could be won by a coin flip. But I thought that last week or week 3 was pretty easy to predict, and I was correct. I got 8 out of 10 games, so 80% I predicted correctly. But well, you'll see once we get into it. But it really some of these are pretty one-sided. So we'll start out with Echo Fox versus CLG. That was the first game, day 1 of week 3. I actually got this one wrong. I thought Echo Fox was going to win, but CLG came out. And here's sort of how they did it. Echo Fox, as usual, had sort of the early game aggression that I expected from Dardoch. They get the kill on mid on the Huhi. Sorry, wow. Yeah. Huhi, not Huni, who is also on the other team. But you sort of see CLG making use of this Nunu pick, which I thought was good. They get a lot of dragons early on, and basically this is a comp that I thought I was going to see more after the first couple of games, but it's the Callista Nunu, where it's like, all right, neutral objectives are basically free, but they also have Zoe, so they're sort of able to win fights around her, and then they get a Baron, and it's very difficult, for Echo Fox to contest. The end of the game is sort of back and forth. Echo Fox actually ended up getting a Baron. Basically, CLG still some questions in their late game decision making / team fighting, but Stixay on this Callista eventually comes online and sort of does enough damage for them to win some of these late game team fights. Another thing that I would mention is Darshan in this matchup. I was saying last week he'd be the player to watch on CLG, and he definitely was. At one point I believe he solo killed Huni, which, you could say what you want about that matchup, but I believe at that point the Gnar should be about even with the Gangplank. Actually, the Gangplank should be ahead, I believe. Anyways, not to get too much into the nitty-gritty, but basically Darshan absorbed a lot of pressure that game. Echo Fox invested a lot of resources sort of early into mid into ganking him, Sometimes they succeeded in killing him. Sometimes it doesn't matter. He was on the top side of the map. Dragon is on the bot side. They have a new Callista, so they're CLG is getting a lot of objectives that way. So that basically amounts into a CLG win. I will say as well, Stixay I thought played better than I had seen him in weeks past. I gave him some flack for playing, very aggressively, especially on champions like Ezreal, using your E to enter fights instead of exit fights. I thought he looked pretty good on this Callista, and didn't do anything too bonkers that I saw. So, good win to CLG. Moving on to the next game, we have C9 versus Optic. First thing, Optic, I get it. You're probably not going to win games playing standard, but let's talk about this Urgot pick, because you were able to kill Smoothie once using the ult, which is fucking hilarious. I love that ult, but ultimately did nothing else in the game. Yeah, if you want to talk about PoE's build, I mean, he's running Fleet Footwork and Nashor's Tooth on Orianna, and he has a Nunu on his team with the Blood Boil, so definitely getting your attack speed build there, which is sort of like his niche thing. It's funny because C9 honestly, like, they lose some fights in this game. I mean, Arrow plays some pretty ballsy stances on this Callista, and he's able to get like the right amount of damage. But in the early game, when it's down to this Sejuani versus Nunu in sort of like the skirmishes, like the 2v2 mids or the 2v2 tops, Sejuani just is so much better than Nunu. Like, Nunu is basically useless. Like, I mean, if you look at Rainover's Nunu versus Acadian's Nunu, Rainover basically had it figured out. He was like, all right, I mean, maybe like Echo Fox gets first blood in that game, but it's like he's on point with the objectives. He's working with the Callista, and it's like, I mean, they got one dragon this game, and it was 26 minutes into the game, and it's like, all right, if you're playing Nunu, you can't be letting these and I guess it was understood because they sort of like 4-man top and killed Licorice. So it's like, all right, yeah, I mean, C9 is just going to get that dragon. But I mean, after that, it was basically all the neutral objectives were to C9 except for, like I said, the 26-minute dragon, which was sort of at a bad time because that almost allowed C9 to get that Baron because it was right after. But yeah, I just think, I mean, Elimination also sort of played suspect on this Tom Kench. He basically misplays a flank, and oh, you know what? I'm sorry. That was actually a different game where he was playing Tom Kench. But let me talk about Cloud9's support, Smoothie. Smoothie is pimping out on this Alistar this week. He is all over the fucking place with these early Moby Rush. He knows how to play this champion, and for me, it's just like coupling this with the Sejuani. That's just such a good like CC Wombo combo. And I will say that C9 play very well around the Rise ults, and I feel like they do a good job of getting around the map and sort of going for the plays they need. They're a very proactive team, so props to them. That was a good win. I mean, you could say that Optic sort of drafted themselves into a hole with this Nunu, and like Nunu is not an Acadian champion. Acadian's like their one win. I mean, I've seen Acadian in the past, but like their one win he was on Kha'Zix. And it's like, hey, what's like the polar opposite of Kha'Zix? It's fucking Nunu. So yeah, they kind of did it to themselves there, and then I still don't know what to think about fucking Urgot, because he pretty much gave up. I mean, they had to like 4-man top to get Licorice, but they kind of just gave up that lane pressure. So yeah, that was a good one for C9. Moving on to Clutch versus 100 Thieves. Oh, and if anyone cares, I predicted that C9 to win that. I just say that every time. I mean, there'll probably be ones that I weeks where I get more wrong. But moving on, Clutch versus 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves won. I predicted that right. Booyah. But this is actually an interesting game because this is one where I'm going to give Lyra some shit in the next game that he plays. But I thought Lyra actually did pretty okay this game. Um, he's playing this Jarvan, which is like you could sort of get in, get out, slide around, and make kills. Where it's like I feel like Lyra kind of gets caught out a lot, but with Jarvan he makes it work. He doesn't get first blood, but he gets some kills in the early game. But it basically comes down to Clutch running this like semi global comp because Febiven has Galio, Hakuho has Shen. And they're basically just able to get around the map better than 100 Thieves are, and they're pretty much never ahead in gold until they're basically they're never really like 100 Thieves is like behind in gold most of this game. And basically what happens is they sort of like wait things out. Like Clutch gets Baron, but I feel like even in this patch where it's like, yeah, we don't have, the games aren't as slow. It's like we don't have the double Targons anymore, which I guess solves some of the problems. But it's just like sometimes you can't just get one Baron and then end the game. Even if I felt like in the past, once you got Baron, like at 30 minutes, you pretty much just won. But that's not so much the case anymore, and basically it comes down to late game Callista versus Trist, and Cody's son on the Trist, and that just ends up being a big factor in team fights, and 100 Thieves can kind of like sort of turtle out until that, and then Cody's son comes online, and they win a couple fights, and it's pretty much GG. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention there. Nope. All right, let's go on to FlyQuest 100 TL. TL won. I predicted that as well. It's like they wanted to make this even easier. I don't know. Like, okay, every week I do these predictions slash like overviews. I'm like, all right, so Keen's gonna be out. They're gonna have Fly in because his visa issues are resolved. I'm guessing this guy's visa issues are just never gonna be resolved because it's week 3. They're still using Keen, and you know what? I think this shrimp guy is like a bad influence on Keen because I think Keen was doing like average to slightly above average in weeks 1 and 2, and now it's like, oh, we're not using Ando, we're using Shrimp because he has synergy in Keen. Well, yeah, their synergy is the fact that they always fucking die together. I mean, good lord, like I don't even know what to say about this game. I mean, it's not for want of trying. Like Shrimp is definitely an aggressive player, and he's playing Warrior Jarvan now. It's like, yeah, I feel like he already could have decided at a certain point, like, should I go Warrior Jarvan or should I go fucking the other one, Cinderhulk Jarvan? And I felt like there's a sort of a crucial point where actually, I mean, that's a decision you make early on. But Shrimp's like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for Warrior, and it's like that just perpetuates things because he never got past. I mean, I'm looking at his build right now. He never got past fucking Warrior Enchant and then Phage Kindle Gem. So like he had an item and a half, and this dude was not tanky. And it's like, did that make the difference in the game? Probably not, because like every lane kind of lost, and I mean Keen was basically fucked that game. But yeah, I don't really respect that build, especially if you're going for like if you're Jarvan and you have I guess he had a pretty tanky team, but it's like I feel like early game you do enough damage where you can just go Cinderhulk, and then maybe then you go like, well, then you would want to go Warmogs. I don't know, but I don't know. It's just like Keen is just like, I mean, you're playing against TL too, so it's like, I mean, I guess that you pretty much want to get this going. But I mean, they sort of like POB kind of just like, I don't want to say outplays because he sort of just reads the gank and does like a minor sidestep, but I don't get into it. But then Smithy on this Sedge, I like him on this champ, and they basically get the first blood on Flame in the top lane, but um, yeah, I mean they pretty much just snowball the game from there. Smithy in both of the games. I'll get into the Golden Guardians. I mean, TL played fucking Golden Guardians and FlyQuest this week, which I mean that's got to be like the easiest schedule I've ever seen. But Smithy knows where to be on this Sejuani. Pobelter I thought played pretty well. He's playing Corki for the first time. I thought that was a good look on him. Definitely trying to be more of a carry for his team. But yeah, I have not much to say other than Shrimp kind of looks. I don't know why they're using him. But yeah. All right, moving on. TSM versus Golden Guardians. TSM won almost a perfect game. Actually, was it a perfect game? Oh no, they got 2 towers. Yeah, I predicted this one correctly as well, believe it or not. And what happened? I mean, here's the thing. I gave TSM, and I feel like I gave I gave TSM a lot of flack, and I feel like I gave, out of the members of TSM, I gave Mike Yeung and Bjergsen the most flack. Well, they finally figured it out because both of those players played very well this week. And TSM ran this core of champions in both their games with top lane Gangplank, Hanser, and then Mike Yeung on Sejuani and Bjergsen on Talia, which, I mean, Talia I know Bjergsen is fucking good at. And then Mike Yeung, it's like, they're sort of like experimenting with what he was going to play. Like, they're giving him, I think in 4 different games, they gave him like Shyvana, which I'm not convinced is an actual pick, and then they gave him Evelyn once, and that's been like pick banned to a degree, but I'm not a huge fan of it, because with a lot of these high CC comps, it's like, how the fuck are you actually gonna like flank and pull some shit off? But he looked the best when he was on that Jarvan, and I was just thinking, like, just put him on like a normal, just put him on, give him like the Sven Skaren treatment and put him on like Sejuani duty, which that sounds like a diss, but it's not. Like, put him on Sejuani, and he's good on this Sejuani. Like, he goes by, like, Matt's playing Karma, which I'm not convinced is a pick either. I mean, he must have like got hit on the head or something and woke up in the Ardent Sensor meta, but yeah, he plays Karma, so they gank. They basically get they blow his flash, they kill him. Mike Yeung comes back for the repeat gank, they kill him again. And he's just like, he sort of just goes from there. And Talia is able to roam and sort of help out as well. But basically, Bjergsen is just outplaying high on the Talia. He's doing the threaded volley, just landing every single thing. And it also comes down to like the duo, like the Bjergsen Mike Yeung duo. I thought actually looked good for the first time this split, sort of looking as a more a superior duo to the high end contracts, was sort of their 2v2 around mid. But it also helped that TSM can basically smash every lane in this scenario, and Mike Yeung is like 2 levels up on contracts at a certain point. So, I mean, there's that too, which can be said. But I mean, yeah, I mean, having a near perfect game against Golden Guardians, I mean, that's a step in the right direction for TSM, so that's good. But yeah, give them the right champions, and they'll do it. Okay, moving on to, I think we're already on to day 2. Yes, we are on to day 2. So this one I predicted correctly, but I have a lot to say about this game. Maybe not a lot, but this game surprised me, even though I got it right. But it was Echo Fox versus Optic, and Echo Fox won this game, which is what I thought was going to happen. But like things were going pretty much the way I thought they would for a while. Probably for the first. It basically got to a point where I knew how long the game was because I was watching the VOD and I knew the score line, and I was basically like, okay, so why isn't the game over yet? And then I was like, another 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, but why isn't the game over yet? And then it was like another 5 minutes, and it was like, wait a minute. So basically, the beginning of the game goes exactly the way you would think. I mean, there must be some sort of like patent pending on this whole Gnar Zac combo that Echo Fox have going on because they love to run with that. In fact, haven't I seen this? I think in previous weeks I've seen this a lot of these picks. We've got Phoenix on the Cass, so you've got some comfort champions. But is this the one? I gotta look at my. Yeah, I mean, like this, like there's parts of this game where Optic are pretty much giving it to him. Dardoch gets he ganks and gets 2 kills early. He gets he gets 2 kills bot lane, and both the kills go to Altec, who's on Callista. So it's like that's perfect. And then they get first tower. Things could not be going better at the start of the game, and it's sort of the situation where you do see Acadian on this Kha'Zix, but he like kind of doesn't really go for too much, and at a certain point, against Gnar, Braum, Zac, Kha'Zix is going to be kind of useless. So it looks bad, but basically, like in the beginning of this game, Echo Fox gets some very good fights. They play very well around the Gnar ult, or rather, Huni gets some good Gnar ults. And then Dardoch gets some good engages. And then this is the game that I was talking about earlier with Lemonation on this Tom Kench, just kind of like inting, like, and it was probably some sort of it looked like a communication issue where he like TPs behind Echo Fox, and maybe he meant to swallow someone, and maybe he thought the team was going to follow up, but none of that actually happened. So he was just kind of out there with his dick hanging out, and he dies, and basically that allows Echo Fox to get their first Baron, which allows them to crack the base. But like I said earlier, sometimes one Baron takes more than that, so Echo Fox kind of reset. But then all hell breaks loose, and they go for Phoenix gets caught out around Baron, and he basically goes down swinging. He takes out PoE with him, but looks like he takes out Acadian. Basically, he goes down like they kill Phoenix. He goes down swinging. It's like a 1-for-1, and I'm like, all right. I mean, if you're gonna get caught out, you might as well kill someone. Go down for the 1v1. That's good. But then Echo Fox initiates this like 3 versus 4 fight with Dardoch, and they just all die. And then and then none of them they basically lose 3 Baron buffs that way. And then immediately after that, near Dragon, they do the same thing, and they do another like 3v5 fight with missing members of the team who were like still down from the previous stupid 3v5 fight, and then they die again. And then Acadian steals Baron shortly after that, and Echo Fox has a Callista. So it's kind of like, all right, how is that allowed to happen? And you can make the argument there, but I mean, seems like Altec didn't have his finger on the Renda key or something. But yeah, so Echo Fox has like a huge like brain fart where it's like 2 team fights they just throw because they're going in, undermanned, and then they somehow, like, I can understand if it was a 50-50 and Acadian leaps into the pit as Kha'Zix and gets the smite steal, but like you have a Callista, like you should have this shit down. So I don't know. That was it's like Echo Fox loved to fight, and a lot of it's almost like a chaotic like genius how it works, where it's like Dardoch's flying in and Hooney's Gnar ulting in and all this shits, and they have a lot of cool like team fights where everything works out, but it's like sometimes they're like almost like too aggressive, and they're like it's like they're hubris. It's like, oh, we got to get another fight, we got to start this one. Oh shit, there's only three of us and there's five of them. It's just like I don't know. It seems like if that, and then the Baron thing is, I mean, that's this sort of a brain fart, but it seems like this could be exploited against better teams. So that's Echo Fox kind of went down in my book, and then I mean they lost to see it. They almost looked better in their loss to Seal. I don't know, like this like 15 extra minutes of the game that shouldn't have happened. I was just kind of scratching my head, but Echo Fox, yeah, definitely went down a little bit in my book, and then Optic, not much to say about them, but moving on. All right, so the next matchup was TSM versus 100 Thieves. I had 100 Thieves winning, but TSM won. Again, TSM's running this core of Gangplank, Sejuani, Talia, and it's another star performance from Bjergsen. But one thing I thought, I was gonna see was this top lane with Someday just sort of like bashing in Haunters, but Someday goes for the old Vlad, which I mean, it looks like most. I mean, Gnar was banned, Jace was banned. I guess you could go. Oh no, Mithy was playing Ornn, so he didn't even have Ornn either. So I don't know what I mean. I can't think of what you would maybe go here, but I just don't like this. I guess they banned out Someday is what happened, but I just don't like the Vlad pick in general. And if that's like your fourth or fifth best champ to go with, then maybe that makes sense. But I haven't seen a lot of success with it, and I feel like even late when it can like get to that spot where you're kind of like going into these team fights and getting your ult on five people, it's just like never enough. It's like you either want to have crazy damage from Jace or like a Gangplank, or you just want to have a CC reliable tank like an Ornn or a Gnar. So I'm not a huge fan of it, but it looks like they basically did a lot to ban out Someday. So I mean that was, I guess, a good draft from TSM, but they do get the bot. I mean, 100 Thieves does get the first blood. I try to make a note of, and I'm gonna do a better job next week, but I try to make a note of who gets first blood and how, and it's usually a jungler. Whether a jungler is ganking for first blood or a jungler is dying for first blood, it seems to be one of the two. But it's sort of another game where yeah, so Afro and Meteos. Afro's on the Alistar, which is a good pick for him. Meteos is on the Jarvan, which is a good pick for him. They sort of set up the first blood, but I mean, this is another one where you can compare and contrast TSM's this game and then TSM's game about Golden Guardians, which I already talked about, where it's like, yeah, TSM basically just like steamrolled Golden Guardians. In this game, TSM was kind of losing. I mean, they get first brick, but 100 Thieves gets Rift Herald, Top Tower, and First Blood. So the gold there is, I mean, it's marginal, but it's marginally in 100 Thieves' favor, but it's not like Golden Guardians where it was pretty much just over from the get go. But basically, TSM does inch their way back in the game by just sort of winning their lanes. Like their bot lane is just like doing better in lane than 100 Thieves bot lane. But basically Bjergsen is the way he plays Talia is good, where he if 100 Thieves are ever in the choke, Bjergsen can basically try to wall someone off or wall part of the choke so that the rest of the team has to sort of funnel through it, and then he can just put all of his skill shots in there and basically hit them all in one person, because that's basically what happens with Meteos, is they're able to kill him by sort of doing that, and then it's like, well, their jungler's dead, so TSM can get Baron, and the game kind of goes from there. But it was an interesting game where in the fact that I guess Someday was running Unsealed Spellbook, so he didn't always have TP, but there wasn't a whole lot of split pushing. It was sort of a game that I noticed in particular. It was like the ARAM meta where they're kind of just like running around mid as 5 trying to get fights. And yeah, that gets kind of annoying to watch because it's like you want to see teams actually using their comps. But I guess Vladimir is more of a team fight champion anyways. But that was just something I thought of. But yeah, that's that game. Moving on to Golden Guardians versus TL. Yeah, this is another LOL game where it's kind of looking. I mean, it's another week of the free wins. I gotta say, if you're playing Golden Guardians, and both of their losses were just like in like when the Golden Guardians lost to TSM, they got 2 towers. In this game, they got a kill. So, combined, they got, some shit, but, they're just they're looking pretty bad. That's all I'm saying. And this is another game, too, where I knew the score line going in, I knew the game time, and I knew that basically no one dies in this game except Impact dies once, but it's just ridiculous how well TL are playing these team fights because you see like the thing about this game is I feel like Golden Guardians could start like I might have said this last week, but this was not the week for Golden Guardians to prove themselves going against TSM TL. But and I'll have to see going forward. But like they're picking some of these fights where it looks like yeah they could definitely get some kills here. Contracts on the Jarvan. I've said it before. I like him on Jarvan. Highs on the Galio. That's a good. I mean that's a good if you're gonna be sort of like the team player, mid laner. Galio's your champ because you can, join the fight, and that's exactly what he does. He's almost able to turn around some of these fights, but it's just like, I mean, TL can just play this so well around the Azir ult, around the Taric ult, around the Zac passive, juggling aggro. It's just like it's kind of ridiculous. And I think Azir is sort of the anti-Jarvan, where it's like if you can't get Azir in the pit because he can just dash out, and then you can sort of like get bail your team, and then also they have Trist, which is like you can just jump out, but and then Zac can launch out. So maybe this whole team is the anti-Jarvan, but with the Azir ult, if Jarvan ults, you can kind of just push them back out of it anyways. But yeah, I mean, this is another snowball. Another one where Smithy is sort of he's doing well. He's playing around Pobelter more. I've noticed this week, which is good because I mean I think in games like this, it's good to sort of diversify your strategy because like honestly, Doublelift and Ole are like fine against Definitely and Matt. So we'll have to see in the future how that works out. But yeah, I mean, I think that's all I need to say about that game because it was pretty much a fucking stomp. All right. Clutch Gaming versus C9. C9 wins. Obviously, or I not obviously, but I predicted that. Sorry, I made it sound like that was like I still feel like I'm talking about Golden Guardians for whatever reason. So it's like obviously they lose, but no, Clutch, not as bad as Golden Guardians, but looking pretty rough this week, I'd say. In this game maybe, but this game brings back the inting of Lyra. He looked pretty decent in the previous game, when he was playing Jarvan against Hundred Thieves, but this game, he played Gragas, and I tried to watch him the entire game, and he sort of amounted to nothing. Is what I thought, and it was interesting because the way they kill him is that he's basically around Sven's red buff, and he's sort of like dueling with Sven, and basically Smoothie just comes out of nowhere and just roams in for the kill. And that's something that's interesting because I feel like Sven also like sort of does an invade later, which is actually successful. But it's sort of an interesting point, which I guess a lot of criticism from Sven was like, oh, he'd invade and die a lot, and it's like Yeah, but is he is that his fault, or is it like, is he doing that and then the team's just like letting him do that? Because I feel like with Smoothie, um, at least that's sort of the jungle support duo where it's like Smoothie's gonna roam, and if he and Sven can sort of work together, either get vision or get invades or kill people, like that's a good support system for Sven to have, so he can do those invades if he wants to. But basically, Licorice just like wins this 1v1, gets first brick. He kills Solo, and then they eventually kill him by sending a lot of members. But basically, Licorice is just absorbing a lot of pressure this game, and he kind of goes a little too aggressive at times. I mean, they do kill him maybe once or twice too many. I'd say I was watching him, I was like, yeah, he went pretty balls deep there. Um, but C9 can rack up these dragons while he's fucking around in the top lane. But yeah, it's basically comes down to oh, this is another game where Cloud9 don't really close things out as quickly as I maybe would have liked, because it gets to the point where like late game, like Clutch has late game Taric and late game GP, and they can sort of like they can stall out these fights, and they win a couple fights near the end. This is another game where I'm watching it and I'm like, how the fuck is this game not over? Like, why is C9 not just winning? Because they're sort of just getting these incremental. They're letting Clutch go for Licorice, and they're kind of getting other stuff on the map, or they're killing Lyra because he's doing something stupid. But eventually, they do just catch out the members of Clutch, and almost like it almost looks like Clutch is going to get back in this game, but then they sort of, contrary to their name, don't clutch it out in the end, and they get picked off, and then C9 eventually win. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this game was definitely because I thought Febiven had a pretty good performance, especially against Jensen. Like, Febiven can go toe to toe with whoever, as far as I'm concerned. But for me, the weakness was definitely Lyra. This was a game where he not only was a liability, but it seemed like he pretty much did absolutely nothing. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that. And the final game. Wait, is this the final game? Yep. And the final game, COD versus FlyQuest. CLG ones, as I predicted, and yeah, this is another good Shrimp performance. They put him on Sejuani duty, but turns out you can't see. This is why you can't say it's a diss putting Mike Yeung on Sejuani duty, because they put Shrimp on Sejuani duty and he fucked it up. But because fucking Stixay like steals the first. I think it's the first dragon. He steals the dragon with Kog'Maw ult because Shrimp like missmites it, which CLG is not even near this dragon. It's literally just he smites it down to like 80 damage or something, and then Stixay just gets it, and it's just like come on, Shrimp. Like I was already just like I came into this game after have seen one game of Shrimp in the previous game, and I was just like, all right, Shrimp, what are you gonna do this time? And he fucks that up, and then he gets caught out in CLG's jungle, and they actually get a 1-for-1 here, but it's like, all right, Shrimp, come on, you're getting caught out here, man. Like, what are you doing? But he gets first blooded, so it's worth for CLG. And I thought this was a good comp because Stixay, as I said earlier, I was concerned that Stixay was going to play too aggressively and far forward, and he went ham on this Kog'Maw, but he was allowed to because who he played Zillion. So it's like, yeah, there was a lot of times when Stixay died and then just got revived back to full health and kept vomiting out damage. So in this game, it's like he didn't even have to play too safe when you could just play around the Zillion ult. So I thought that was a good. I mean, that's just a smart comp to run if they can just do that from whenever it makes sense, like with these Stixay hyper carries where he's got to get in people's face. That's pretty good. But Yeah, other than that, not much to say about that. I mean, Darshan was definitely. This was a game where Darshan was definitely trying to be the big boy carry, and he's like, 1v1 me, bro. And then they just send like, it was hilarious. He keeps trying to like, and he almost does it like in a couple times. He'll try to like 1v1 someone in a side lane, and then FlyQuest will send like 2 or 3 more people and just kill him. And it's like, I know when I play top, I feel that way, where I'm like, just like, why don't this fucking pussy just 1v1 him? He knows that I'll shit on him, but like at the end of the day, it is a team game, and yeah, if you're if the FlyQuest can back up, I think it was Wild Turtle. Yeah, I think it was Wild Turtle who he kept trying to just like one shot, and he almost did it once or twice in a row. But then Turtle would just rocket jump away, and then the boys would roll in and kill Darshan. So Darshan's hubris showing there. But yeah, that's it for the recap. Pretty much what I expected for a lot of these teams, but the ones to keep an eye on will be Echo Fox, as well as TSM and CLG, because those two teams are playing each other, and then Echo Fox is playing TL. But that'll have to bring us straight to the predictions segment. Week 4 predictions. Here's the first game. TSM versus Clutch. Now, I have TSM winning this because I think that from what I saw from like I'm more positive on Mike Yeung than I used to be. I'm still pretty down on Lyra. I feel like Mike Yeung, it's just like pick a lane, any lane, gank that lane, gank it again. You're probably gonna do well. Like I just put him on Sejuani duty. It's not that hard. And you know what? Even if Lyra does return to like uh previous Lyra where he's, fucking everybody up. Let's say he ganks mid, kills Bjergsen, he ganks top, kills Haunter. We've seen, we saw this happen before, and TSM will just grind their gold lead back because they have superior laners, and I would say they definitely have superior laners, except for mid. I think Foden's pretty good, but Haunter versus Solo, Haunter should have the advantage. Ven Mithi versus Apollo Hakuho. It depends on if Hakuho and Apollo are on sort of like playmaking champions. I guess that would mainly be Hakuho because Apollo should be focusing on just doing damage. But that's like the like lukewarm playmaking I've seen from them, where it's like sometimes like that Taric, where it's just like, well, it actually just comes down to like, is he playing Taric well or is he playing Taric? Because I still think Taric is a very good pick right now. But it's like I've seen on and off from Apollo Hakuho, so they'd have to really turn it on to make a difference, I think. So I'm giving it to TSM. Let's move on to the next one, which is C9 versus TL. I'm giving it to TL. C9 just, they looked a little iffy, as I was saying before. Like they're giving up Barons. They're sort of pushing these fights late game. I think in this, I think Pobelter looks good enough in the mid matchup, especially since maybe Xmithy's now starting to play around him more, and we've sort of seen like it'll be interesting because we've sort of seen like the narrative is sort of more about the whole like Jensen Svensgaren dynamic duo. I mean, we're sort of seeing. I think we saw maybe more of that in week 2, but I think Xmithy Pobelter, if they can get Camp Jensen early, that's how you would shut him down. And then I think these bot lanes, I mean, I think that they kind of just go even here. So and then I was also thinking that Sejuani would be I like Sejuani on both of these junglers, so that would probably be a contested pick. But I mean, there's also like Zach and Gragas and whatnot. But I think we've like almost exclusively seen Svensgaren on Sejuani since week 1 when whenever the last time he played that fucking Evelyn game that shouldn't have happened. But yeah, I liked him on the Sejuani. So, but I think just TL just looked clean as fuck, and they had a really easy schedule, but I think they got it more together than C9 do. But The caveat being, I guess the X factor rather will be, can Licorice. Licorice looked like sort of a good dynamic, but he almost went too far. So if C9 win, it's like, let's see Licorice dial it back a little bit, and then I think Smoothie and Jensen would sort of have to play well around their or they'd have to, if Jensen's on Rise, Smoothie's on Alistar, those are both signature champions for them. If they can sort of make those picks work, but I'm still giving it to TL, but just gonna do I could see how Cloud9 could win that. All right, now the next matchup we have is Optic versus CLG. And all I have to say is get ready, Zig, to just get dove by 3 people this game, and maybe one of them has a zillion ult. Yeah, we haven't seen, too much of the zillion. I'm just assuming who he will try to bring it back, because I thought that was part of a lot of their success in their win against against FlyQuest. But yeah, we know CLG likes to play around top. They do it every game, so Optic should see this coming. But Zig is just not. Zig and Acadian are just not the type of people that I'm going to see really. I could see it where it's like not POB, that's Pobelter. Power of Evil is roaming, and it's like sort of if they can get up there first. But I could see Darshan. I think Darshan is like better at absorbing pressure than he is drawing pressure, if that makes any sense. If he's the one that's sort of getting 3-man dove, then I feel like he's usually good about, like, CLG also is good about making other shit happen on the map. We saw that in the Echo Fox game. Also, Optic Gaming have who I'm going to start calling Lemon the anti-playmaker, where he's sort of doing these questionable plays, trying to go for things and sort of getting caught out and dying. I don't think too highly of Lemonation at this point. So I don't think it'll be a problem for the CLG bot lane, and I'm going to give it to CLG. Okay. Next up, we have 100 Thieves versus FlyQuest. I give this to 100 Thieves, especially if FlyQuest is running Shrimp. I would hope that they use Onda, but this is sort of a cop out, but I'm going to assume that they're using Shrimp. Well, the problem is I don't know like where the hell Keen is or where the hell Fly is. So it's like I guess there's potentially. Oh wait, no, because of the import slots, they actually can't use. It would have to be either. Well, I guess there's Shrimp and Keen, then there's Onda and Keen, and then there's Onda and Fly. They can't use Shrimp and Fly because that would be 3 imports, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's how. I believe Shrimp counts as an import. But basically that whole clusterfuck. Yeah, I just did not see a lot that I liked out of this FlyQuest. I don't have very much to say about this matchup, I'm afraid. 100 Thieves, even in their lost, they're pretty good about making shit happen on the map, and for the most part, even if they were losing objectives, they're getting other shit on the map. So to take the easy way out, I'm just gonna say this fucking Shrimp guy is just not good. Moving on. Echo Fox, Golden Guardians. Ooh, here's another one. Actually, this game could be crazy because these are both the teams that honestly this might be the 2 teams that just like go for the most amount of fights. And like it was crazy because in the game against Team Liquid, Golden Guardians were like down by more and more gold, and they kept going for fights. And at times you were like, holy shit, they're actually going to pull this off. But then they don't. And then you think like, okay, if this fight occurred when they were less down in gold, would this make sense? But now you could think, what if they're going for a fight where Echo Fox is trying to fight 3v5? And then you're like, oh shit, they would actually win. So, in some bizarre universe where Echo Fox completely ints and gives Golden Guardians their first win of the week, yeah, that could happen. But I'm going to give it to Echo Fox because they still look like a much stronger team. So, but hey, if Golden Guardians does win, you heard it here first. But I'm not predicting that. And then next up, we have FlyQuest versus C9. I'm giving this to C9. If you want to guess why, it's this FlyQuest team. Basically, here's the thing. I mean, I can be more I guess I sort of theory crafted this one a little more as to how FlyQuest could possibly win. And it's like, they're going to play around mid and try and shut down Jensen, obviously. But if they go mid, you have to worry about Licorice because C9 can play around Licorice. And he's pretty good at either, I mean, and if they shut down Licorice, it's like, well, you have to worry about, I mean, C9 just has too many threats. And it's like, Licorice, it's almost like if you try to shut down Jensen, that's almost like what C9 wants you to do in some ways. Because Licorice, they can play around Licorice, or the bot lane just straight up beats FlyQuest bot lane. So, and I was, a little bit worried about Licorice kind of going a little too balls to the wall, but I'd like to see him back on these kind of off the cuff picks like the Camille or the Kled. But yeah, I think C9 has the upper hand here, and whatever amalgamation of mid laners and junglers FlyQuest is going to use, I don't think it's going to matter. But we'll have to see on that, because maybe they'll finally bring in Fly, haha. But I mean, I've been holding my breath on that one. Not that I'm dying to see him play, but never know. Anyways, moving on to Golden Guardians versus 100 Thieves. I'm giving this to 100 Thieves. Free win, GG, easy. But now, all jokes aside, I think so. I guess the thing is with Golden Guardians is, I kind of want to talk about them a little bit, even though they are sort of, it is almost a joke at this point. But and they didn't even do this in week 3, so this is even going back. This is going back to like weeks 1 and 2. Or what was the week? Week 2 was things don't go as intended for Golden Guardians. I could see them, like, they'd have, like, if they can like make these fights work, like, they'd have to get an early lead. Like, they have to be more proactive than 100 Thieves. And Contracts is an aggressive jungler, but I just think that 100 Thieves make shit happen. They got Meteos, they've got Aphromoo. That's a great playmaking duo, in my opinion. Ryu, I didn't see it as much this week, but actually he did roam on the Talia. That's actually, but he either can teleport or he can roam, ult down, ult up. So yeah, I don't really see Golden Guardians getting the early leads, which could allow them to snowball the game and then win. So yeah, I got to see who they're playing. Well, that's week 5, but yeah. I mean, Golden Guardians playing Echo Fox 100 Thieves this week. This week is not their week to get their win condition, I'm afraid. All right, next game, TSM versus CLG. I think this one will be a very interesting matchup. I think the Hauntzer versus Darshan matchup is something I'm very interested to see, because both of these guys have almost exclusively played Gnar and GP with a hint of Vladimir. I'm almost positive if you looked at their champion pools, champions played, it's like exactly the same. It's like literally half Gnar, half Gangplank, and then one Vladimir game. I could be wrong, but yeah. So we're probably going to see Gnar versus GP in this matchup. But I'm interested to see how that goes, because Mike Yeung has sort of been playing more around Bjergsen and bot lane, whereas Reignover and Huhi have been playing around Darshan. So assuming that happens and they do sort of cave in the top side of TSM's map, it's the same thing that I said in their last game, in their last matchup against, when I predict them to win against Clutch, how they can sort of grind back and still get some gold advantages and get some objectives that way. We'll see if CLG runs the Nunu again. I don't see Mike Yeung really going for the Nunu, but what do I know? But yeah, I mean, definitely the mismatch here is bot, so have to keep an eye on that. I thought CLG bot lane looked a tad bit better, especially Stixxay, but I think Mithy is way more of a playmaker than Biofrost in general. Bio did look good on the Alistar this week, but Mithy in general. Mithy's got a good Ornn. When he plays Ornn, he's constantly banging out the ults, getting picks, getting fights. So if we see Mithy on this Ornn, that could be a pick to watch out for, I'd say. So yeah, I think this could go either way. I think you could see another Huhi Stixay situation where it's almost a Juggermaw where they're hyping up they're putting the Zillion speed up on Stixay and the ult so that Stixay can just fuck around and not die. But Bjergsen, it's interesting. Bjergsen has a good Zillion too, so they could take that as a counter. Maybe I'm just hyping up the Zillion pick too much, but hey, I really liked it because it made sense in the context of what CLG wanted to do, and it covered up one of their weaknesses, which is Stixay's mispositioning, and turned it into a strength. So, yeah. All right, moving on. The next one, TL versus Echo Fox. I'm giving it to TL. TL just look really fucking tight right now, and if there's a team to beat them, it's not Echo Fox. I just think that TL go for like very intelligent fights, and they play them well, and a lot of it is the champions they're getting. But Echo Fox, just from sort of the indecision that I saw from them in that Optic game, I just think that if it comes down to like better decision making, TL will win out. But this will be an interesting one because Xmithie and Dardoch are probably two of my favorite junglers to watch at the moment. They're both all over the fucking place making shit happen. Prove that they can gank pretty much any lane and have success. Dardoch, yeah, I think Dardoch and Xmithie, got first blood in both of their games last week. So that to me, that's like the position to watch. But yeah, I'm still giving it to TL. Also, I think TL's bot lane is better. Just saying. I think Huni's probably more of an impactful player than Impact, puns aside, but I think Double Lift Ole is better than Alltech Adrian. I thought Alltech Adrian looked a little, probably maybe the weak point of Echo Fox, but it might have had to do something with the fact that Adrian was playing Thresh in one of his games. I don't think Thresh is a very good pick right now because it's sort of pick reliant. It is a pick reliant pick, and just isn't really as good for team fights, which I think is a big part of the meta right now because it's still a lot of the ARAM meta. And now you have Optic versus Clutch. Maybe this is a bit of an upset, but I'm giving it to Optic. This is basically the test, though, because I went from this Optic bot lane to being like, yeah, it's Apollo and Hakuho. They've played together for a while. Like, they're probably near the top of the pack, to them being like the gatekeepers, where they're like, okay, like, we'll beat all the people worse than us, but we'll definitely lose to all the people better than us. We're like in the middle, and we're the gatekeepers separating the two sides. And now I'm just like holy shit, what if they're worse than Arrow Elimination? Like, that could be a possibility we live in, just mainly because I think Arrow is probably better than Apollo, maybe man for man. It's hard to tell. It's so hard to tell with bot lanes. Like Lemonation is definitely a liability, but I'm looking at this bot lane in particular, and then Acadian, we know, like, if he can get off the Nunu and get on the Kha'Zix and then actually do shit with the Kha'Zix, but if he's playing against Lyra, who also doesn't do shit, maybe Acadian has the edge here. And then PoE Febiven will be an interesting matchup as well. The two cash out EU mid laners, but yeah, I think PoE has looked decent, but yeah, not too much to say about that. Clutch is just like, I don't even know what to think about Clutch. Like, other than Febiven, it's just like, it's like Febiven and the boys, as far as I'm concerned. That's what they need to rebrand to. But yeah, that does it for predictions. What an episode we've had, and we've made to this point. Thank you for listening. A bit of a change of pace, change in style. I've tried to make things more structured, and this might be sort of a transition episode as I realize how to make, basically, now that it's more structured, it means I have to actually know a little bit more of the details. So hopefully I did that okay. But I'd like to hear your comments below. Basically, yeah, feedback on your opinions on what I've said, and how I'm presenting it, and just whatever the fuck you want to say in the comments. I don't give a shit. Type in gibberish. I'll fucking read it. I have nothing better to do. But yeah. I'm not even going to tell you to subscribe to this channel or like the video. I'm not even going to tell you to dislike the video. If I told you to not wait, I'm not going to tell you to dislike the video, but I'm not going to tell you to not dislike the video. So how do you like that? And the only thing I am gonna tell you is that my name is Tempest Wing, and this is the premier weekly NALCS podcast.